Hello, I'm Kads and welcome to today's video. Once again, the portal is alight with the lovely blue hue, meaning it is 2 times ancients and once again time to pull some shards. This is of course in pursuit of the champion chase going on for the Vault Keeper Wixwell fusion, as well as coinciding with a 10x for probably one of my most wanted Hydra champions in the game, Wall Master Otharion here, featuring there in the 10x. So, as always, we are never pulling without a purpose, and I already mentioned we are pulling for the purposes of the champion chase. Let's go ahead and take a look at that tournament. I was spot on with my prediction for once that the rare fusion rare was going to be at 3,000 points. Now, that's typically where the first legendary tome is, and the second one is usually at 5,500. But in this case, they've removed, I guess, the second tome, and they only have one here at 3,650. So 3,650 will be our target for the day. We are going to overshoot on the rare because that's not 650 is not much further away, but going way out there is just a little too much, especially for 2x ancients. Now, I have heard some people saying that this milestone 3000 is fairly high, and I tend to disagree with that. Perhaps that is me being spoiled with how many shards that I have, but I would hope that even your average player on a, every 6 weeks or so, you will have built up somewhere around 60 to 80 ancients just from playing the game naturally, competing in tournaments and events, and then just doing your daily clan boss. So I would hope that you would have enough, or at least you're saving enough for 2x ancients, because I do think it's still one of the most valuable times to summon for majority of the player base who are not really hyper focused on specific endgame champions or anything like that. But as long as you have somewhere between 60 and 80, depending on your local RNG, ancient shards, you should be able to easily get out to 3,000. But of course, remember that you can always pull mystery shards to fill in gaps. So if you only had enough for 2,000 points, you could suffer through misery shards, 1,000 misery shards. And of course, you can always go into the portal and summon fragment summon champions. So anything you've previously done from a previous fusion, anything you've unlocked for daily login rewards, the ones you get from Doom Tower, etc., even the permanent fusions going on in the game, so Relic Keeper, Broadmaws, or anything you have gotten thus far for Lady Mikage. So keep in mind, all of those things can help offset the cost of the 3,000 points. So it's a lot easier to obtain than I think a lot of people are advertising it to be. So let's go ahead and take a look at the overall shard count on the account at the moment. We have 729 on the ancients, 154 on the voids, 14 on the primals, and 55 on the sacreds. I was honestly hoping to have the double legendary tome all the way up to 5,500. That way we can pull all the way out there and also just have more chances to get to the 10x champion if we happen to get a legendary at all. But since they kind of removed my second tome, I don't really care about the 5-star chicken at 5,500 points. That's not really worth the investment, regardless of the chances of getting Wallmaster Otharion. So like I said earlier, we are only going to be pulling out to the 3,650 worth of points, and then we're just going to be saving our shards for some other events in the future. When it comes to Mercy, I'll put the Mercy tracker up on the screen here, and we're focusing on this row here. You can see we're pretty distant from hitting a legendary from Mercy, so the odds are decent that if we pull a substantial amount of ancients, or upwards of 80, maybe 90, worst case bad RNG, and we don't get a legendary at all, that means we're in a great position for an ancient pogo in the future if that happens to come along in the near term, perhaps prior to the next 2x ancients, of course. That being said, I would not be opposed to getting a legendary, especially if it's Wallmaster Otharion. So, anything can happen, and most things are going to be good for future situations regardless. So once again, because there is a champion featured in a 10x that is on my wish list, my personal wish list, we're not going to talk about any other legendaries that I might want, because we're going to focus all of our RNG onto that one champion. And for any of those math whizzes out there, a 10x currently with the amount of champions in the ancient shard pool means that we have roughly a 5.4% chance, if we get a legendary at all, that one champion is going to be Wallmaster Otharion, i.e. around a 1 in 20 shot if we get a legendary. So very, very low, 95% chance that we get any other legendary in the pool, but nonetheless, there is a chance. And also with the advent of epic empowerment, basically any epic dupes right now are good, so that I can pull some of the champions out of my faction guardians and turn them into empowerment, and put some of the champions I don't use, food champions, etc., or just unused epics into the faction guardian slots to make sure that all of my teams are still speed tuned if they have a speed tune. So dupe epics are up for grabs, and of course Lady Mikage epics, because we would like to summon her eventually sometime in the future. So without further ado, let's get into the pulls. We've got the space, we've got some cash, and hopefully we get some pretty decent luck and some super good luck if we do happen to pull a legendary for getting the 10x champion. 1% chance to get a legendary, 80-ish summons. We're going to be tracking our progress along the way. I think we're basically at 0 for the champion chase, so we'll start from there. 2x Ancients, what we want to see is around 2 to 3 epics per 10 pop. So starting off with 3 is a great start. 820, which brings us to, I guess, well, 820. We're just starting off here. So yeah, we'll see how far or how many it will take to get all the way out to that point. I guess I forgot to talk about the epics on that first 10 pop. I think Kinegashi is noteworthy because she's a reviver for Shadowkin Faction Wars. If you're concerned with trying to maximize that or beat that for the first time, she can do the job. Fang Cleric is kind of the same thing. He's a much weaker reviver, but nonetheless for Dark Elves, if you're desperate for it, you can do some work. Seeker, really good, very popular Demon Lord Clan Boss champion for making your team run at a 2-to-1 ratio. Very, very popular in that regard, but also a solid provoker on the A1. So that's a 530, I think, for 2 epics and a 10 pop, meaning we're around 1300 or so, give or take. Another double epic means that we are around 1800, so we're about halfway there. Steel Skull, very good champion. He's become more popular with the Cursed City, but he does have an AoE heal, increased defense, so it just makes your team a little bit more tanky. And a single target cleanse with a pretty decent heal. Hoffreeze the Tusked. It's also good for Faction Wars Reviver if you really do need it for the Skinwalker Faction Wars, but also very useful in the Cursed City for the same reason. He can be a Reviver, but also a buffing champion with increased attack and increased crit rate. 1800 points, halfway, 30 shards in. Good. The rates are good, so I cannot be mad unless we are... legendary? And it is not Wallmaster or Tharion. Okay. It is Truoth, who I think is a decent champion, kind of cool. So it's like, I remember they have this ally protection ability that gets reduced by a passive, I think. Yeah, so ally protection here, it'll heal a single target ally by 20% of this max champion's HP, and then it will HP balance, so it's can be a really solid heal, if not a full heal, depending on who has the highest level of HP, and then ally protection. But yeah, so it starts off with the 4-turn cooldown, but every time this champion loses 10% of their HP, it reduces the skill cooldown by 1 turn, meaning that if you take, I guess, 40%, it'll basically be back to back, and you can essentially heal back up potentially if someone is full HP, or if the person you're healing gets to full HP or near full HP. So it can be pretty decent for a tank go second type champion, maybe Guardian set or something like that can be useful. But I'm probably not going to see much play on my account. Perfect Veil on all allies and counterattack on this champion with Strengthen. So it could be useful for Hydro for that purpose. Probably a decent Mischief tank. But I don't know. I don't think I'm going to use him. I don't even know. Him? Looks like a dude. Probably not going to use him on my account. It heals this champion, which synergizes well with the counterattack. So pretty decent, but probably not going to see play on my account. Mercy has been reset, unfortunately, and then I think we're at around 2300 on the points in the champion chase, so we will continue from there and see what we can get. Next 10 pop is going to be a bunch of honestly, oh gosh, right into a... Hey, we got him! Oh man, okay. All right, the 10x is on. The 10x worked. Okay, that was like literally seven champions later, 7 shards later. We actually got Wallmaster Otharion. I think this is my second time getting a 10x champion featured during one of these events. I think my first ever was actually to Hanorok, believe it or not, Void Legendary, but I got her during her 10x. Granted, that's a lot more likely for Void champions, but hey, we will take it. 2 legendaries in 40 shards or 50 shards. I kind of lost count here where we are, but yeah, that is substantial. Okay, so Wallmaster Otharion, this is gonna change things for my Hydra team for sure. For Nightmare. Although I did try to phantom build him earlier today, and I did not like the results, so I might not have the gear to build him exactly how I want him, but nonetheless I will see what I can do. So starting off with the A3, increased attack on himself, increased accuracy on himself, and increased speed on himself. Then he grants an extra turn, which is nice. 4-turn cooldown, but it's effectively 3-turn because it grants an extra turn, which sets him up to go right into the A2 here, which is a double hitter. The first hit will place block buffs, and the second hit will place decreased attack. So he is magic affinity, so we can weak hit, but nonetheless very, very strong against Hydra Clan Boss. And then this will scale off enemy max HP. Granted, it is probably the weakest enemy max HP multiplier thus far. I think it's like 1/3 of Royal Guard, so it's quite hard to hit the damage cap 10%, but honestly, getting a double hitter, even if they're like half of the maximum, it's still going to be a decent amount of damage over the course of a long Hydra battle. 3-turn cooldown, and then 100% chance to place the debuffs when booked. And then the A1 AoE attack, and this will not trigger counterattack. So if for some reason the Head of Mischief, for example, stole counterattack from your team or something, this wouldn't trigger it, or any other like Nether Spider, another thing that will not trigger counterattack. So it's pretty neat. And then I guess I forgot to mention that here, it'll also fill the champion's turn meter by 5% for each living enemy after the attack. So if they're all alive, that could be 20% turn meter on the A2, same thing on the A1. So just turn meter fill helps him get around to his abilities faster. It works well with ally attack type teams, where he just gets the free A1 whenever he's selected to go with the ally attack, which will give him get him back around to a turn sooner. And then on the passive, which is really strong, it makes him super tanky. It will increase his HP by 20% all the way up to 50,000 bonus max HP for each enemy killed or Hydra head decapitated by this champion. So most likely he's going to get a few kills on Hydra heads throughout the course of the long battle, which means you don't necessarily have to build him super tanky. He will kind of add tankiness to himself over the course of a long battle. So super happy with that. I think this brings us, this should be worth around what, 800-ish points? No, 900-ish points. I didn't really see the number. We were distracted by actually hitting the 10x champion. So we should be somewhere around 3,400 points or so in the champion chase, meaning that one more 10 pop, provided we don't get all rares, should do it. Can we dig a little bit deeper into the RNG pot? Probably not. I don't think we deserve a third legendary in like 60 or so. 340, one epic, Thanasil, pretty decent, but probably honestly does need a buff to be more relevant. Increased defense and a heal, and then a chance to sleep and decreased duration of enemy buffs by 1 turn. Not strong enough in the current meta. So let's hop over to the champion chase and confirm that we did actually get all the way out to 3650. It might be close. I think we made it. I hope we didn't overshoot, and my mental math is kind of in the ballpark of where we were trying to go. 30, yeah, so, okay, we have the right number. So, yep, 3,700, close enough, slight overshoot, but we will take that. We'll save the energy for a bit later. Champion training, of course, is going on. And man, okay, this, for real, this is absolutely massive. Let's go find all of these, oh wait, who's new here? Oh, of course, the Fusion Rare, of course, the Fusion Rare is new. All right, so we did get that. We got Truoth as well, Vault Guardian for me at least, but the crown jewel of the day is getting Wallmaster Otharion. Yes, super hyped. This is going to be amazing. I will try my hardest to build him for Nightmare Hydra. He's going to replace actually Gizmak the Terrible, who's in my current team. But yeah, one of the pitfalls, I guess we can take a look at my Nightmare Hydra team if I can stop getting these pop-ups. Slight tangent here, guys, and I guess a little bit of a spoiler for the Hydra video coming out soon. But this is my Hydra team right now for Nightmare, and you can see that Gizmak is doing some work, 35 million, Mishinaki doing the bulk of it, 57, and then my Husk here doing 42 million. And so this slot would be replaced easily by Wallmaster Otharion, and so we would have double enemy max HP, which is really strong, on top of the Hex from Mishinaki helping us and decrease defense as well. We don't have Weaken in this team, so again, it might be hard to hit the cap, but he will give himself increased attack, which will help his damage output slightly, and then again, we'll have a decreased defense, and we have Cruelty as well from Nekamothar doing his AoE abilities on every attack, so that helps. But yeah, one of the shortfalls of this team is that essentially we're relying on Tuhanarok to do block buffs, and given that it's a single target debuff spread, and we do have a lot of debuffs on this particular composition, she doesn't always spread block debuffs to the Head of Mischief and stuff like that, so having a backup source of block buffs, again, and another source of decreased attack, we do have it from Mishinaki if they are under Hex, we have it from Nekamothar on his A1, and then obviously Tuhanarok can do it as well. But another source of decreased attack, it's not a bad thing, it's just more insurance that the Head of Wrath is not going to get his big smack off without decreased attack on. So having a guaranteed block buffs, or at least 100% chance to land it on top of Tuhanarok doing her thing, is going to make this team a little bit more reliable as far as preventing the Head of Mischief from stealing buffs, sometimes even with a 3% resist. So now you've seen it for your own eyes. The 10x is not always a scam. Sometimes you do actually hit it it and get lucky. And honestly, not to mention that we did happen to get 2 legendaries and basically, what, 60 or so ancients. So that is fairly good odds as well. We did reset Mercy because of that, so we were not set up for any Pogo in the near future, but who cares? We got a champion on the wish list, and usually this happens like once a year. For me, it feels like, so maybe this is early for 2024. We got a champion off the wish list, and we can start moving champions around from there. But yeah, I am super happy. This is awesome. I cannot wait to use him and see what he can do for me, like I said, in the Hydra clan boss. And of course, that is going to do it for today's video. Let me know in the comment section down below what you guys were able to summon from your shards if you were pulling for this 2x ancients, and hopefully you too, if you got a legendary, were able to hit the rare 10x chance and get yourself a Wallmaster Otharion. As always, if you did enjoy the video, then be sure to hit that like button down below, and feel free to subscribe to the channel for more content just like this one in the future. Thanks for watching, and have a good one.